Mark is a computer programmer who runs his own company. One day he decides to visit Korea. And one thing you would notice is that he has a very on-point route planned. He's also fond of Korean food, especially kimchi, which is a traditional dish. And this is why he constructed a very well-polished list of food places and pinned them on Google Maps. And then he wrote the program to rank the restaurant places so that he can be sure to visit the most trustworthy ones as he went sightseeing with his friends. And if you want to look at his phone, he will show his program and then letting you know that it was not that much of a challenge for him to create. Mark is also planning to write and keep particular notes about the quality of each experience he has. And idiosyncrasies like optimizing the route and rankings of the best kimchi restaurants in Korea have been part of Mark's daily routines for years. Growing up, Mark stumbled upon a basic calculator, which contained a rudimentary form of basic programming language. He explored that and then taught himself more of it to recreate the Super Mario game on a calculator. And then he went on and learned Java on the computer, and the rest of it is history. And what really got him going was the power of using computers to avoid repetitive tasks. Later in life, he started interviewing at a handful of companies such as Apple or Google, but felt like he did not want to work for someone else. It was of course about creating value at the end, but being an employee felt like a bad value proposition for him. That is because he was not interested in money that much. Software is eating the world. We have Amazon dropping off your shopping list in less than 24 hours, Uber picking you up right from the door, Facebook injections in the public sphere, and Instagram and WhatsApp taking care of the selfie culture and making sure we supercharge our communication processes. What one must consider is that these things were happening before in some way or another, but what is different now is the speed. Sure, gossiping with a buddy and buying carrots was something we were doing before, but nowadays, with our technological innovations, we took care of making these things run faster. But why? Why do technology aficionados tend to push the limits of how we do things? Why do they want a min-maxed life? And I really think they do it because the market dictates it. And now it goes for a huge thanks to capitalism, as it rewards anyone who can optimize and improve processes to squeeze some more out. And software brings something else to the table as well, because programmers are almost primed into an existential state, with efficiency being some kind of new emotional driver. And this is why Mark has the deep pleasure in taking something inefficient, even though just a little bit delayed, and tightening up a notch. It's also about removing friction out of a system and viewing everything as an aesthetic delight. And the reality is that Mark's eyes start glowing whenever he finds a way to make a random process systematically work faster, or whenever he eliminates the human effort from the equation. And this appetite for efficiency isn't uncommon to programmers, because technicians and inventors have long been driven by it. Throughout the early years of industrialization, engineers advanced the automation of daily tasks to a moral ideal. It was about removing the burdensome labor. And many coders have their efficiency aha moment in their adolescence years, when they learn that life is full of tedious, repetitive tasks and the computers are really good at doing them. Many programmers were bored of doing their math homework, so they have created programs to do that exercise instead. One of the key features of a coder is laziness and the unwillingness to perform boring procedures. And usually that inspires him or her to break the laziness and do the work to automate it. Because as some programmers see it, people and their constant demands can be a pain in the back. Coders and engineers go through life seeing inefficiencies everywhere, from staying in line at the supermarket to boarding on a cruise ship and even cleaning up your house. And I must say that it is always good to return to the first principles and constantly reevaluate how you do things. You can walk down the subway system and start looking around for inconsistencies as well, or thinking about how people should walk or navigate the terrain in a more optimal fashion. And this is called computational thinking, which is a set of problem-solving methods that involve expressing problems and their solutions in ways that a computer could execute. And it can also be considered as a method of art, as it involves spotting the invisible systems around us. Now Mark is still continuing to break the barriers of meticulosity and efficiency, because now he has decided to build muscle. So he started applying himself by carrying a spreadsheet on his cloud where he tracked every portion of food he ate, and his approach towards working out was constructed in the same way. He started working out in a gym, but also found new and creative ways to add a little bit of exercise into whatever chore he was doing. If he passes a thick metal railing of some sort, he'd use it to do dips and pull-ups. or push-ups every time he left his work chair to go to the toilet. He is working continuously on optimizing not just his body, but all areas of life, and spending time only doing things where every ounce of effort was most likely to produce maximum outcomes. A 20-something row chart filled and labeled with life activities such as programming, fitness, reading, violin practice, and video game progress. He also made something which most people would consider weird or over the top, and that was a category he called time with friends and family. And why do I say that this is hard for people to understand? Why would you think about adding that time into a category and labeling it like is a work-related task? But what people don't understand is Mark's rich inner life, because he's also very fond of learning and absorbing knowledge from all areas of life, and keeping track can indeed be a hassle, because he has so many things to think about, and often finds himself not knowing how to tackle them. Because when you are thinking about coding or reading fiction or technical books or self-improvement, learning violin and improving your fitness, psychology of everyday life, machine learning, deep learning, analyzing your surroundings and optimizing your daily processes, you really need a system to make sure you have your mind in order and order in mind. The labeling system is his support pillar that is meant to sustain his rich and elaborate but exclusively internal fantasy world. Again, this might seem nuts for a lot of people, wanting and trying to organize and systematize the emotional parts of life, and regard social activity as a source of inefficiency is, to many individuals, baffling. I mean, is Mark a robot? But aren't we as well? If you think about it, people saw Leo da Vinci's idiosyncrasies as pertaining to a madman. If you take a look at his scribbles, he had reminders and to-do lists such as ask Maestro Antonio how mortars are positioned on bastions by day or night, or calculate the measurement of Milan and suburbs. Or he was asking and taking down random questions and small tasks such as observe the goose's foot. If it were always open and always closed, the creature would not be able to make any kind of movement. Or why is the fish in the water swifter than the bird in the air, when it ought to be the contrary since the water is heavier and thicker than the air? Da Vinci would carry around a notebook, where he would write and draw anything that moved him. It is useful to constantly observe, note, and consider. And isn't Mark's workflow a modern-day approach to Leo's notebook? He sees everything around him as something that can be fixed or improved. And yes, one might say that the dangers of computers becoming like humans is not as great as the danger of humans becoming like computers. But is it really a danger? Psychologists and linguists have long outlined the value of what they call fatigue communication, meaning the various emotional devices humans use in their day-to-day life to make people feel at ease. And the programmer mindset can be extended towards other areas of arts as well, because the more you play around with writing small scripts, the more you start to notice the inefficiency in your daily activities. A writer will usually find himself checking different online and maybe offline dictionaries to polish up his wording. And if each search takes about 3 seconds to load the results, one with a programmer mindset will start spotting the patterns, and writing up a script that can load back various antonyms and synonyms with speed and precision is a decision one can take to pursue right away. This way one won't have to wait for the sluggish browser to load up different types of cookies to clog up the drive. One can experiment with this kind of method, like how much time will it take to Alt-Tab and type in your keyword search into a command prompt. And programming resembles poetry in various ways because simplification gives you power. Imagine a poem where every single word has great purpose. And Mark is constantly reaping the benefits of direct and indirect optimization because his live scripts are always running somewhere. And this is how he will get more time to explore and enjoy other aspects of life. And one can agree that the harsh drive for speed and efficiency at scale has bad side effects as well, like increasing the speed of how fake content spreads disinformation or the speed the big tech is using to gain power. And maybe that we are slowly but steady embracing the programmer mindset where we are trying to optimize every aspect of life indeed. And look around you, wearing your tracking devices and trying to beat your last time record at the gym, or swiftly taking a peek at your social profile to make sure you are not facing the fear of missing out and taking that dopamine hit as well. Constantly keeping yourself up to date, removing friction, ordering and Ubering everything. But again, is this a bad thing? Or are we just afraid to admit that we are all building the programming mindset? On different speeds, of course. because the technology simply dictates that to us, and we truly cannot keep up with our old mindset anymore.